Well, following on from my last video that I did where I discussed Omni Man's complicated mind, I thought it was only right that I delved into one of the main arms of that complication, and that's his wife, Debbie Grayson. Throughout season 2 of the show, we've seen the character acting as a shell of her former self that we saw in the early parts of season 1, and with her confused state climaxing in episode 4 where we saw that she was on the cusp of ending things but backing out, showing the strength that she had within her. I thought Debbie's mind was worth delving into whilst trying to understand why she's acting the way that she is. So let's get into it. Here is a look inside the shattered mind of Debbie Grayson. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Her former life. Within the early parts of season 1 of the show, and even the latter parts of the show, through the use of flashbacks, we saw that Debbie was an individual that was deeply in love with Nolan and was proud of the family that she had with him. This is why Nolan's betrayal and the exposure to his true side is what caused her mind to end up in the state that we witnessed in season 2. Because following that, she's never truly returned to her former self. There was once a time when Nolan would fly her across the world to Italy for pizza, showed her love and affection, and she truly felt that she was his number one. Whereas this is the polar opposite to the truth that was lying dormant within their marriage for 20 years. Her life of raising Mark with somebody that she truly loved was a lie, and the feelings that she was expressing were never truly reciprocated. She was Nolan's pet, and at the time, she didn't think that or feel that either. But knowing that lying with him, raising a child with him, and creating memories with him was only ever truly one way, it shattered her heart and also her mind. During the flashback in the season 1 finale, there was a line that was spoken by her where she mentioned how she was proud of the fact that Nolan and herself created Mark, and that by witnessing the joy that Mark feels, it enables her to feel his joy too, allowing the weight of the world that bogs people down that sits within an adult's mind to be pushed to the side for the time being. So with both Mark and Nolan alongside her back then, it was all she ever truly needed. The betrayal and the impact of watching it all unfold in real time. Realizing that the past 20 years of her life had been a lie and that Nolan never truly loved her in the way that she loved him is something that's a key reason for her being in a depressed state. But something that I think added to the weight of it all and most probably made things worse, which could be contributing to a reason as to why she's still suffering so much, is the fact that she quite literally watched everything play out on a screen in real time. She heard everything that Nolan said. She watched him beat their son to a pulp when he was within an inch of his life, and she also saw the dark, dangerous, evil side that made up a lot of who her husband was. Something which most probably made her question and wonder how she never knew or saw that side to him, making her feel partially responsible for what happened. By not receiving some kind of filtered version of the events that happened when Nolan was revealing everything, or getting a watered down version of what Nolan said about her specifically, there was no protection or softening of the mental blow that she received. After standing there watching it all play out, her mind was probably in the state that Mark's body was in, and you could only imagine the pain. This was where the state that she was in within season 2 truly began. It's said that being betrayed can often result in a number of different responses, such as shock, the feeling of loss, anger, and grief. And in this instance, I think Debbie went on to feel each of those things in multiple different ways. 20 years, 2 decades of her life was a lie. That's something that I just can't even put my head around. I'm in my 20s, so most of my life for her was a lie. It's just mad when you think about it like that. So the response that she's having where she's questioning everything and closing off is totally understandable. It's something that would definitely have a wider impact on your mind, making you wonder what else would be real or what else could be a lie. Debbie's abandonment. In season 2 of the show, just like how Nolan was in his opening section of episode 4, Debbie has been in some kind of isolated state too, not truly knowing how to feel. Despite having people around her such as Cecil, Olga, Art, and her son, there are shots which show us that she's truly alone, and they highlight the weight of everything that happened and how it's sitting within her mind and that she's mourning the life that she used to have when she felt like things were okay. Nolan was gone, and Mark was off at college, leaving her in a big house which used to be for 3 and filled with family, now just catering for 1. Not only is she alone in the sense that she has nobody living with her anymore and she doesn't have the emotional support that she feels she needs, but she's also alone from a societal perspective as well, leaving her with no sense of belonging or purpose. She wasn't ready to go back to work due to expressing anger towards people that treated their partners poorly, mainly because she was on the receiving end of that behavior. Plus, she was also pushed away from the only group of people that she'd most probably be able to relate to, the spouse of superhero support group. But because Nolan impacted many members there by killing their spouses, she can't even be around them, as they don't want her there. And I think that also reminded her of the direct impact that Nolan had, and the sense of responsibility that she felt that she had in not noticing his behavior sooner, and feeling like she could have done something to stop him. There was a moment in episode 2 of season 2 where we saw that she was looking at a trip for her and Mark to go on together, so that they could spend some time with one another following everything that happened. This to me was her reaching out for help and looking to fill that void of abandonment that she was feeling. She wanted somebody with her, somebody who had felt the exact same thing that she did. But just like the common theme in the show, following her betrayal, she was left on her own again. The fact that the closing part of that episode was in the same kitchen where she lost it completely and started smashing up the kitchen in a fit of rage before then getting that comfort that she desired earlier on that morning showed that Nolan, somebody who she now despised and hated, was impacting her and weighing heavy on her mind. And all she wanted was somebody by her side to fill that void of loneliness that was present. Because if she's on her own, she's with Nolan, because he cemented himself inside of her head. The stages of grief. Debbie has been going through the stages of grief since the end of season 1 of the show. We saw that she was going through denial when she was questioning if Nolan was the person that was responsible for the murders of the Guardians of the Globe, anger when she was destroying the kitchen, depression when she was on the cusp of ending things for herself in the mid-season finale, and then acceptance when she was speaking with Art. This was the moment where she realized that despite being with Nolan for 20 years, she was the individual that was strong and had a lot of strength within her due to essentially raising Mark on her own, because Nolan would often be going off and defeating monsters and creatures. This was her finishing with the acceptance stage and us seeing the end of Debbie's shattered mindset that we've been watching fall apart since the end of season 1 of Invincible. With her being accepting of what had happened and owning her future, the look in the mirror that she gave herself and the way that she spoke to Cecil was something that we hadn't seen from the character in a long while. And it marked the beginning of a new mindset that Debbie will most probably be adopting. No longer the shattered mind, but the healing mind that will go on to exhibit the strength that we know that she's had within her this whole time. The part which stopped her from going over that bridge when she questioned if her life was even worth living. And that is a side of the character that I'm looking forward to watching grow, especially after everything that she's been through. Whilst Debbie's mind is on the road to recovery, it's still fragile, and even though she's strong, I feel that fragility will still be present as she looks to grow and recover. So, there you have it, a look inside the shattered mind of Debbie Grayson. Who do you want to see a video on next? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.